Hello and welcome to the video. My name is Wade Daniel Smith, and in this video I'm going to talk briefly about COVID, but I'm also more importantly going to talk about African American racism against white people and reverse discrimination against white people. And I know firsthand because I've been the victim of it for years. Right now I am now totally medically disabled, especially in my left hand and both feet. I'm about 50% numb in both feet and in my left hand, and have very little grip strength remaining in my left hand due to 2 strokes and 2 seizures, among other things. And during the last seizure, my left shoulder and left tricep tore so bad that I thought I was going to need surgery, but it has been 7 months ago, a little over 7 months ago now, and I've mostly recovered from it. It's still, the range of motion is still not perfect, but at least most of the pain has finally gone away. But I'm totally medically disabled now, whereas before I was only partially disabled. So back at the end of 2018 and early 2019, before COVID was even discovered, I was at the time working part time for Pizza Hut in Baton Rouge, which is a majority African American delivery area, and I'm white, and you know, I don't care if you deliver a pizza to an African American family and you get there 10 minutes early with a smile on your face and get everything right the very first time, and you do it every single time that family orders pizza. They will never, with one or two exceptions in an entire delivery area, which I'll get to, they will never tip you so much as 1 cent. They can be half millionaires and live in a $500,000 or $1 million house, and they will still never tip a white person even 1 cent. With, like I said, 2 exceptions anyway in the entire delivery area. And they'll complain about the order even if you got absolutely nothing wrong. And my African American manager knew that and told me that black people flat out will not tip a white person no matter how good their service is. He said that hundreds of times while I worked there, admitted it. All right. And to be a delivery person and make any money, you need a decent sized tip on average every order to make any real money, because you got your expenses. They supposedly pay you mileage, and mileage doesn't cover anything. And you're only being paid minimum wage. And then you're expected during slow times to help prep on the inside. And you're not making enough money to pay for your car note. But there was one African American guy and his wife, and they were, in fact, a guaranteed $10 to $12 tip every time. That is the first exception, and I delivered to them about once a week. Thank God for them. And there one other time, there was an African American between him and his grandmother who tipped me about $25 altogether. But I only delivered to him and his grandmother exactly one time in the entire year and a couple months that I worked at that delivery location. So that is a weird exception. But that other family would tip you $10 or $12, and I deliver to them about once a week. But as for the rest of them, with virtually no exceptions, they never tipped me even 1 cent. It got to where I was praying to God for mercy on their souls for being racist, and flat out, the only reason they would not tip me is because I was white and they were black. Period. And my manager, my general manager, admitted that, and I didn't even bring up the topic. He brought it up first. He said, "Don't expect a tip from black people. They do not tip white people. They don't even tip other black people, apparently." But he said they definitely will not tip a white person. So one day, after I did not get yet another tip, I sat in the car for about 30 seconds and prayed to God whether I should even be delivery driving anymore. And I did. I prayed to God to forgive that person for being racist, because I had done delivered to them a couple dozen times. And I am not lying to you, and I am not crazy. The voice of God spoke to me right then and there and said that he was going to punish every last one of them, because they do nothing but rip off the federal government. He said they rob the federal government left, right, and center and never pay their taxes correctly, much less, which had nothing to do with what I was even complaining about at the time. But the first complaint that God spoke to me is that they falsify their tax returns and rob the federal government of earned income credit and do not pay taxes. much less the fact that they do not tip white people and that they reverse discriminate against white people and claim that it's not even possible for a black person to be racist, allegedly. And if you point out that they are racist to their core and absolutely hate white people, even 160 years after the end of slavery, they call you a racist for saying that they are absolutely hateful. They flat out will not forgive a white person. They don't. They think I'm guilty of something that happened 160 years ago, and I'm not. And I'm not racist for saying that. So, anyway, a few months later, COVID is first discovered. And of course, they tried to close the government down and everything, but people were stupid and fly all over the place in jets. By the time they discovered it overseas, it was already here for 3 to 6 weeks before they even found the first case here. Because by the time they found the first couple hundred cases, really tens of thousands of people in the United States had already contracted it and passed it on to another couple 100,000 people by the time they found the first 100 cases in the US. Because at first they thought it was barely even spreading at about 2.5 R rate. But eventually, over the next couple months, they finally admitted that it was even more infectious than the measles, which is the previous world record holder for most infectious disease ever discovered. And then they eventually admitted that it was airborne and could infect you just about anywhere. Because at first they denied whether it was airborne or not. But eventually they had to admit that it was airborne. But, okay, why does 2 black people die for every one that died that was white? I don't know. Ask God. The white people are not conspiring to murder black people in the medical facility. They're not. So don't blame me. Ask God why he killed 2 black people for every one person that died in the plague. Because that's what it was, a plague. Don't blame me. Ask God why that happened. It might have something to do with the fact that you are absolutely a racist and hate every white person who ever lived and refused to forgive me 160 years after slavery ended. That might be why that happened. I don't know, but ask God. And that is the God's honest truth. All right, that's the end of the video.